Good evening, everyone. Namaste. I'm Dr. Vivek Singh. I would like to welcome you all for today's session. The session today we are conducting is the first session conducted by NEDOL on NEDOL Research Room. The title of the session is Health Science Student Research, the Road Less Traveled. This session is presented by our guest lecturer, Dr. Ravi Shankar, sir. He is a professor of pharmacology. He's a professor of pharmacology and a faculty member at IMU Center of Education, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He is the coordinator for evaluation at IMU. He has worked as a professor, associate dean, curriculum committee chair in several universities during the last 2 decades in Nepal and Caribbean. He has 707 publications in various national and international journals. He has written 12 book chapters in 7 books. He was involved in setting up regional pharmacovigilance center in Nepal and was a resource person at several national workshops on the subject. He has been involved in teaching rational use of medicine to medical students for over 2 decades. His area of research interests are rational use of medicine, pharmacovigilance, small group learning, and medical humanities. He enjoys traveling and is a creative writer and a photographer. And apart from that, Dr. Ravi Shankar sir is my professor. So when I joined the medical school, he was the first person who taught me about the medical research or who enlightened me about what medical research is, what is the scope of medical research. So I am grateful that I was able to get some of the ideas about the medical research when I was in first and second year of medical school. And it gives us a privilege having him here delivering this session as a first session for NEDOL Research Room. So before starting the session, I want our executive board from NEDOL, Dr. Rakesh Burma, to enlighten some information regarding the NEDOL and what are the activities that NEDOL has been doing for 8 months.
Well, I would like to welcome our Dr. Ravi sir to this research room session and to all the members, participants. And at first, I would like to introduce myself. I am currently resident doctor in the Department of Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics at BP Kuala Institute of Sciences. First of all, I would like to thanks and give a immense credit to our Dr. Vivek Singh Rathore, who had this passion and who could manage this time. And actually, he was so fearless to risk his saving for well-being for medical fraternity and dare to create some impactful changes in life of thousands of doctors and their family. So actually, he established this platform around 7 to 8 months back on Facebook called Nepal Doctors Lounge, which now we fondly called NEDOL. So actually, he by working day and night in this dream project called, he has got different projects in his kitties. So starting from FT privilege card, he spends thousands of hours and traveling to various places across Nepal and India, working on envision of concepts, giving certain discounts to doctors at different facets of daily livelihood in the lab, hotels, resort. During the time of COVID, he built a core team of doctors who can give 24/7 free online consultation to the patient, who are in dire need of oxygen, hospital beds, ambulances. He also managed to arrange appreciable discounts for subscribing to the USMLE, PLAB, Pre-Platter, Marrow. There are other program which we have conducted a session bringing 12 doctors from 12 different countries speaking on 12 different topics, special 12 for medical graduate, where we have neuro and cardio sessions from Kuwait and Brazil. We started collecting stories from Nepalese doctors whose contributions were hidden behind the curtain, bringing their stories regarding aims and objectives of our this NEDOL organization, which is now proudly a registered body. Nepalese Doctors Lounge is a registered non-governmental and non-profitable organization. So it is established for the sole purpose of providing platform to all the members of medical fraternity towards various academic activities, engagement in all the scientific and social affairs, and collaborating with national and international community towards improvement of our standard of living. So to assist in the academic development of capable young millennials in the medical stream by providing equal opportunities based exclusively on their skills, professional training, creative development, aiding PG preparations, and honing all those various other activities. And to honor contribution of doctors by felicitation, providing recognition at national and international level through NEDOL application, Facebook page, and other portals. We also have this plan, and we have aimed to organize various seminars, webinars, symposiums, and workshops related to various streams of medical fields through able NEDOL mentors and NEDOL project leaders. Currently, we have Dr. Pradeep Gewali sir, NHRC Executive Chief, as our NEDOL advisor, and we have also the veterans from the top-notch doctors of different field, who is joining soon as our NEDOL advisor, ranging from NMA chairperson to other various significant dignitaries who will be joining us soon. And our major future plans is also to establish NEDOL hospital that will help in treating poor patients at affordable price, providing true platform for doctors and other allied health professionals to get this immaculate balance between duty hours and satisfying salary. To participate voluntarily for different form of social service during crises as per the need of hours. And during these trying times, to generate doctors' entrepreneurship ideas and motivate them to indulge in these work generating skills like investment in diagnostic centers, clinics, and pharmaceutical companies. So in order to fulfill all these objectives, NEDOL frequently join efforts with various organizations, institutions, and individuals to provide financial support, award certificates, and scholarship to deserving candidates on a non-discriminatory basis. So my final thought is NEDOL platform and organization will always remain the way, as always, with head held high. So all our activities, basic and all our primary activities will continue and be available to all. So there are other sections also which demands these funds, and will have this premiership program in the membership program, which will be launched very soon. And for the today's NEDOL health resource program, I would like to wish the best of luck to everyone and hand over the mic to Dr. Vivek Singh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh, for clarifying us regarding the NEDOL and what NEDOL has been doing for last 8 months. So now I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Ravi Shankar, sir. So as I mentioned before, I would like to request all the participants to mute their mic so that it will be easy for the our presenter to present the session. So handing this over to Dr. Ravi Shankar, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Vivek. Can you hear me well? Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Okay, welcome everyone to this session. I believe there are quite a lot of people. So, of course, research is a topic which is quite dear to me. And when Dr. Vivek approached me, and I know about his launch, he has been, very active on Facebook and different social media. So I decided to go ahead and give a brief presentation. So this will be it's a big group, I know, and we're doing it online through Zoom. So what we plan to do is we'll do some interactions. We use an app called Slido. I believe many of you have downloaded Slido app on your phone or on your laptop. So we'll use that as a means of interaction. I think in your registration, we have given you the 3 ways we can use Slido. The most preferred one, of course, is to download the app on your smartphone, but then you can also join through through the web application, and you could also even scan the QR code and then open the URL and join. So let me move forward. I think many of you know me, and Vivek has given you an introduction. Thank you very much for joining. And we'll actually do this in 2 parts. So we will have the first part of the presentation, and then we'll have a short break or take some questions, and then we'll go on to the second part of the presentation. So that's what we plan to do. So what we'll do is, what I will cover is I'll briefly talk about how I got interested in research and some student research which I've been able to facilitate, and what are the challenges in doing research. We'll look at that in the second part. We'll look at the parts of an original research article, because again, I do not know. I assume people will be at different levels. Some of you will be much more seasoned researchers, while others are still beginning their research journey. So we'll keep it somewhere in the middle, so that it will be of interest to everyone. And in the second part, we'll look at how you can get involved in research as a medical student or as a health science student, and we'll look at some indices connected with research. So that's our plan, or maybe roughly over the next hour. Yeah, of course, since it's Saturday evening, I believe many of you, even if you go a bit over time, I believe that should be fine. We started a bit late and maybe people are still joining. So let me begin by sharing my slides, and let me share my screen, and let me begin to share my slides. Yeah. So can you see my slides? Hello?
Sir, we can see, sir.
I believe you can. Yeah, I assume you can see, and I will move forward. Can someone confirm, please?
Yes, sir, we can see the slide, sir.
Okay, fine enough. So what I'll be talking is health science student research, the road less traveled. Yeah. So this actually I put it into two parts so that we can use the Slido and have the interaction. So why is health science student research not so popular? Or why do many health science students struggle to do research? So this is something we look at as we go through this presentation. There are a variety of reasons, especially in the Nepalese and other resource constrained settings. There are a number of factors which constrain you from doing research, yeah, which they cannot prevent anyone who is motivated from doing research, but they do constrain you from carrying out research. So about me, Vivek has already given a introduction. So I'm mainly a health professions educator. I'm a clinical pharmacologist, a researcher, creative writer. I'm a traveler and a photographer. And I'm also a career researcher. The latest, there is there's a group from America who has started the career research database, mainly based on Scopus. They started it on 2019, I believe, 2019 or 2018. So this is my rank in 2021. Of course, a lot of people are now getting involved in research. And this is mainly based on citations of your articles in Scopus. So of course, that will be an underestimation. So my areas of work are small group learning, health humanities. I'm beginning to work in artificial intelligence and healthcare, not AI as such, but what AI means for medicine. So that's something I'm beginning to work on, pharmacovigilance, rational use of medicines, pharmacoepidemiology. Many of you know me, and I'm an academic editor for PLOS One and some other journals, and I review for a number of journals. Yeah, that's briefly about me. So two parts, yeah, like I told you right in the beginning. Part A will be about myself and my research. I'll share some of my experiences, and I'll also share the parts of a research manuscript with you. So what are the parts of a research manuscript? Part B will focus on conducting research and choosing a journal. How do you choose a journal in which you can publish, and publication indices? A few publication indices with which you should have some idea. Of course, when you're an academic researcher like us, you should have much more idea, but you should also have an idea about these indices. So let's go to Slido. Yeah, please open Slido, put in the number 099632, and please answer this question, either yes or no, very easy and question to answer. So 099632, I think Vivek and others can maybe put it in the chat or help them. So if you have downloaded Slido, I think we are 50%, we are very good. Yeah, we have a young audience who are much more techno savvy. Yeah, so many have not done any research. That's fine enough. Yeah. So I think we have about 28 people have answered. Very good. Let's wait for the others. 37, 40. So about 23% have done some research. 27% have done some research. Yeah, we'll wait for some time to give people time to answer. People are putting a lot of effort to make their voices heard. So we'll respect your choices. Yes, about 25% have done some research and published. That's fine enough. Yeah, I just wanted to know, yeah, where you stand. Any more answers? Yeah, maybe another 15, 20 seconds. About 68 respondents have answered. Any more? Any more responses? And maybe we'll slowly begin to close. We got 69 people who responded, 70. Okay, maybe some first one, people will have some challenges in answering. Okay, another. Okay, fine enough. People are still answering. We should give them a chance. Maybe next time onwards it will be faster. Yeah. Okay, let me slowly begin to count down. Yeah. So I think we had 76 people who responded, which is a very good number. 26% of you or 27% have done some research and you published your findings. So thank you, everyone. So it doesn't, I just wanted to know, yeah. So many of you are yet to begin your journey of research, which is fine enough. There's no problem with that. So let me move forward. Yeah, thank you very much for participating. Let me move forward to the next slide. So how I started my journey into research, yeah. So this is an article published in the Journal of KIST Medical College. So one good thing which has happened is many journals are now available on the internet, yeah. So KIST Medical College, and there's something called NEDOL, which maybe Vivek and others can tell you, which gives you access to all the Nepalese journals which are indexed in NEDOL. So this is during my undergraduate days at the Government Medical College in Kerala. So not much emphasis on research, unfortunately. And I did my MD in Chandigarh in India, Postgraduate Institute of Medical Education and Research. Main focus again was on animal research in pharmacology. We had some faculty who were involved in pharmacovigilance and other clinical research, but not much. The major focus was on animal research. So this was my first research publication, yeah, long ago, in 1999. So this was a letter to the editor. This was published in the Indian Journal of Pharmacology, yeah, as a letter to the editor. So this is something called catalepsy. Catalepsy is an interesting condition where, persons maintain a kind of a state, they maintain an abnormal state, yeah, but this looks very natural to them. So it can happen in humans, and we use animal models for catalepsy. MCOMs in Pokhara in Nepal in 2000. So Department of Pharmacology, we introduced a number of new teaching learning activities, yeah, patient counseling, personal drug selection, pharmaceutical promotion materials, and we had a lot of early collaborators, yeah, and in 2004, we established a drug information center and a pharmacovigilance center in connection with the United States Pharmacopoeia. And we had a good collaboration with community medicine, with the Department of Community Medicine. And when I started my journey, when I first came to MCOMs, in fact, I was quite surprised because many of the things which we had, in PGA, of course, that was a premier national institute at that time. Many of those things were not there. Yeah, it was just buildings and a few rooms, small departments, yeah. And when I started, we did not expect to be where we are today. So this is KIST Medical College. So I started doing a 5-year fellowship and KIST Medical College. So that's where I did some of my work. Medical humanities. We created a pharmacology learning space. Yeah, I think maybe Vivek and others can tell you whatever we had. Of course, within our resources, we did not We could not go beyond and expect whatever they provide, say in the US or in other developed nations. But whatever we could, we did do that. So these are two of my most cited articles. If you look at it, both were done in Nepal in MCOMs, and this was along with Dr. Chandra from Community Medicine. So of course, Dr. Chandra is now working here in International Medical University, and this was self-medication in the Pokhara Valley. So these are our two most cited publications. So collaborations, so different collaborations. So I collaborate with the University Science Malaysia or with people from USM. I often am an external examiner for their PhD thesis and other things. MCOM's colleagues, I continue to work with them. Dr. Piryani, I think some of you may know Dr. Piryani is now in Pakistan. Few research with students, of course, we look at that. There are challenges for you, some specific challenges for you to do research. And Dr. Donald Messersmith is an expert on Nepal. He's an American. He has been coming to Nepal since 1964, nearly every year. So he has a writing group. He's an anthropologist. So he taught us how to write. Yeah, creative writing in English can sometimes be quite challenging. So Don was one of the major inspirations for us. The Caribbean, so when I went to Aruba is an island near Venezuela. One of the challenges was to create a new curriculum, similar and integrated organ system-based curriculum, introduce health humanities, and we also started movie screening and activities. So these are various things we did at Aruba. So one thing which, long ago, I think Dr. Theodore was an epidemiologist in MCOMs. He said one of the ways in which, you can maximize your publication is try to convert whatever activities you're doing, try to make them into a research publication. So many areas, I believe, I've been successful in doing this. Students doing masters, PhD, not many, but we had a few students. So right now I work at International Medical University in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So I work at the IMU Centre for Education. So last 2 years, as all of you know, we have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. I had a lot of personal effects. My joining was delayed and quite a lot of other issues. So I collaborate with Dr. Subish and Dr. Jha from KISS Medical College. Inter-university collaboration, and I've always been involved in creative writing. So I used to write for ECS Nepal. I think that magazine now, the status is quite uncertain, because whether it will restart, it's quite uncertain. I used to write for the Himalayan Times, and I write for various other publications if I can. So what is the most important factor which hinders you from carrying out research? Can I have you respond to this once more? Thank you. Maybe a few words, 3 or 4 words. Of course, I know that's quite challenging. So a lot of factors. What is the most important factor which hinders you from carrying out research? I assume all of you are students. No support in UG, guidance, thank you. For those who were the pioneers. So many underconfidence, time factor, guidance. So many mention about guidance, lack of proper guidance, financial problem, lack of interaction with researchers, unavailability of mentors, no strong base. We're getting a lot of responses. Lack of support. So many say lack of support and lack of guidance. Let's wait. I think we might get a few more responses. Maybe people have to think this through. Thank you. We're getting more responses. No guidance, no mentors. A lot of issues are coming up. No support. We'll keep it open. No focus on practicals, only study for exams. Academic burden. UG does not encourage research, less knowledge regarding biostatistics, do not know where to start, which again is a problem, discouragement. Any more? Any of you? Of course, one of the benefits is you can type in anonymously. Yeah, that's one benefit. Limitation of resources. We have 47 responses. Let's keep it open for another a few more seconds. Yeah, maybe people might take some time. But I really appreciate all of you who have given your candid opinions. Less knowledge, lack of guidance has come multiple times. Any more? Yeah, we have 49 people who have responded. Any more responses? Yeah, 50, no right environment. So sometimes, or most often, the environment may have to be created by you. Of course, it's a struggle to create the right environment. Let me begin to slowly close it. Yeah, lack of scope in Nepal and India, but not in India and Nepal, and thus brain drain. To a large extent, true, though situation may be slowly changing. Of course, you cannot match what you get, yeah, the financial reward in a Western country, that cannot be matched. So shall I move forward? I would like to thank all those who participated, in this poll. So one major problem is lack of guidance and maybe less knowledge, yeah. So those were the two main problems which came out. I would like to thank everyone again for participating, and let me move forward. Yeah, keeping in mind the issue of time, let me move forward. So let's look at the parts of a research paper. Like I told you, that will be the second part. So which part of the paper should you write first? So usually we start with the methods. Yeah, I think some of you may have attended some other talks which I've given. So we always start with the methods because we can do it when the study is ongoing. And methods is written in the past tense. Yeah, remember, usually you will get ethical approval. To get ethical approval, you have to write a research proposal. So that research proposal can be converted into the method section. Instruments you should mention, you should cite the instrument, ethical approval, yeah, if possible. Like I think Vivek and I are doing a study, yeah, as a part of this presentation. But we could not get ethical approvals, but we are getting informed consent from you, and you're following all the procedures which are required. Because especially when it's participants are distributed geographically, globally, a particular IRB or ERC in Nepal may not be able to give you ethical approval. Results. So one important thing to be in the results is what to include in the text and what to include in the tables. Remember, you'll have tables, you will have figures. I'm just giving an overview of parts of a research paper. So I assume you have some idea, some knowledge about the parts of a research paper. So how many figures, how many tables, it depends on the journal instructions. So whenever you're submitting your research paper for publication, one important thing you have to remember is you should always follow the journal instructions. Yeah, they have all the power. And many journals now want you to deposit your data. Yeah, whatever, say, Excel file, whatever SPSS data you have, they want you to deposit it on an open access repository. So one which we often use is Figshare. There are so many others, and many of these are free to use. So introduction, that's another part of a research paper. Yeah, referencing usually could be a challenge. There are some free referencing software which have come, Mendeley and Zotero. They do have their limitations, but they're quite useful. Yeah, so most journals follow the Vancouver style, but one challenge is, though most journals follow the Vancouver style, they use different modifications of the style. They put an extra period, they put a space. We don't know why journals do this. So, when you're submitting, when your paper is rejected by one journal, when you submit it to another journal, you have to go through a lot of hassle modifying your references. So introduction will have the background. What is the research gap? What problem in the literature did you identify which you want to study in your research? What the study intends to do? What are your research objectives? What are your research objectives? What do you want to do in this particular study? So journals usually will have guidelines for the introduction. Some journals have very short introduction. I believe the Journal of Nepal Health Research Council, I believe the introduction should be either 200 or 250 words, something like that. A discussion is where you compare your findings to the literature, where you interpret the results. So we have the results, we interpret the results according to the literature, and we usually have a limitation section. So what are the strengths of your study? What are the limitations of your study? Usually this will be the last paragraph of the discussion, or you could have it as a separate section. Again, it depends on the journal. Journals often will give you clear instructions on these sections. Conclusion, so that will be the last part if you look at it chronologically, and then after that is the references. So what are the implications for further research? What does your research mean for knowledge and practice? Of course, I'm mainly focusing on an original research article. Yeah? Of course, there are other types of research which we won't go into much. Yeah? Of course, our time is limited and we have to focus on other areas also. So my primary focus will be on an original research article. Tables and figures strictly follow the journal instructions. Yeah? Again, how many figures, how the figures should be, how many tables, what type of tables, yeah, all those strictly follow the journal instruction. And resolution of figures, how many dots per inch, again strictly follow according to the journal. Abstracts. Abstract is usually the last part to be written. After all parts of a paper are complete, that's when we write an abstract. Abstract usually are of two types. One is a structured abstract where we have different headings. Structured abstract is usually about 250 words. Some journals can go up to 350. And the other type of abstract, what you see here, that's an unstructured abstract. Yeah, so that usually is about 150 words. Yeah, so this doesn't contain any subheadings. So journals will ask you for keywords. And whenever we are using keywords, use something known as medical subject headings. Yeah, MESH. Medical subject heading. So if you can look up MESH, yeah, MESH is from the National Library of Medicine, the same group or the same organization which gives you PubMed. Yeah. So MESH, now what has happened is there's something called MESH on demand. So MESH on demand is something where, you can paste your abstract into the box. MESH on demand as a box. Paste your abstract into the box and the keywords, the AI algorithm will automatically generate. Yeah. So decide on a suitable journal. I think maybe we'll talk on this also in some more detail. Format according to requirements. Save as a separate file. And one problem which can come is APC. Something which has happened is Nepal actually became richer. Yeah, maybe I don't know, many of you know this. In the last 2 or 3 years, I think Nepal became richer by about, the per capita income increased by about $70, 70 or 100 US dollars. So unfortunately, what this did was this pushed Nepal from a low income country to a lower middle income country. And once this happened, many of the waivers were automatic for Nepal. Yeah, some of you who had published before, many journals used to give automatic waivers. So that has stopped. Now, many journals no longer give it. Yeah, you have to request or they give you a 50% waiver. So this has become a problem for publishing. Processing time, journals are becoming slower. Some journals are quicker than others. So this is something you'll have to think about. Covering letter, yeah, why the journal should publish your article. Copyright, so some journals want you to transfer copyright to the journal. Yeah, once your article is accepted, or some want it right at the beginning. When you're submitting it through the online system, one of the things the journal will ask you is copyright. They want authorship forms, like what each author has done in the manuscript. which part of the manuscript each author has contributed to. And there's something called conflict of interest, which may be particularly important in clinical trials. And let's say, suppose you're doing a clinical trial of a medicine, new medicine, which has entered the market, and you own shares in the company which is producing that medicine. So, of course, if you report a favorable outcome, what will happen is the shares value of that company will increase. So, you definitely have a conflict of interest. So, all conflicts of interest have to be declared. So do any of you do any creative writing? So can you listen, respond to this? Thank you. Okay, till now, no. Hopefully some people may do some creative writing. Yeah, at least 1%. Okay, good 8%, 25%. Okay, we have quite a lot of people who do creative writing. Whichever language, it's fine. Of course, scientific publishing is predominantly in English. Yeah, that's something which is happening with scientific publication. Any more responses? We have 53 people who have responded, 55. I would like to thank every one of you who are responding and letting us hear your voices. Of course, it's a big group. I think we have about 110 people now. So, of course, responding individually will be difficult. So let's keep it open for a few more seconds. Yeah, any more? I think people are still responding. Any more responses? No, okay, let's begin slowly to close. Yeah. So about 34% of you have done some creative writing, which is quite good. Of course, if you do creative writing, the way you put ideas on paper will always improve. Though there is a difference between creative writing and scientific writing, the language may be different, but there are quite a lot of, it will always help. So thank you everyone who have responded, and let me move forward. Yeah, thank you so much. So that is mainly the first part of my presentation. Any questions anyone has? Vivek, anyone has any questions in the chat or anywhere?
No, sir, I have not received the.
Or anyone wants to ask anything? Yeah, any questions? Yeah. If not, let's take a very short break just to stretch our legs, and then I will come back to the second one. Is that okay, Dr. Vivek?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, maybe 2-3 minutes. Is that how much do you want?
Maybe 2-3 minutes, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine enough. Let me come out of this. Thank you so much, and then I will go to the second part of my presentation shortly. Yeah. So come back in about 3 minutes. Yeah, we are right on time. I believe we started a bit late. Yeah, so in about 3 minutes, we'll start the second part of the presentation. Thank you so much. Maybe willing to go and talk to the people. Yeah, so that's something you can do. So research group, I think so maybe when NEDOL, I think could be a good option. Yeah, that's why when Dr. Vivek asked me, I said, yeah, I would be quite interested to talk to you about. And maybe an inaugural session, of course, maybe others might have more sessions later. Social and other networking sites. Yeah, I believe a WhatsApp group, yeah, in Facebook. Yeah, so many social media there. You can collaborate with students inside and outside the institution. These days, it's becoming much easier. Yeah, we've got a number of mechanisms for us to collaborate with people. Knowledge of research methodology, like I think when I asked that question, some of you said that's a challenge. Knowledge of biostatistics, that also could be a challenge. So these are some of the challenges which you may face. Of course, there are a lot of options now. Yeah, there are books, there are YouTube videos. So many options are there. Okay, let us go to our slide. The number is different because this is a different interaction. Number is 052 159. Yeah, so please take note of the number 052159. Yeah, please answer this question. Maybe in a few words, what kind of research can you do as a student? Yeah, so please go ahead and answer. 052159. Descriptive study, thank you for setting the ball rolling. Cross-sectional case report, yeah, fine, let's wait. Yeah, let's, descriptive study right now seems to be the KAP studies, yeah. Cross-sectional case report, lots of ideas are coming up. Cross-sectional, descriptive, proper guidance, I would say any kind, yeah, as long as you have the resources and you know what you call the setup in your institution. So case report seems to be somehow, you know, among the most common here. Cross-sectional is there, descriptive is there. A case report seems to be quite an important. Yeah, of course, it might be quite easy. Clinical trial, if your institution is doing that, yes. So thank you very much for all your responses. So case report somehow seems to be, even now, we have 35 people who have responded. Let's wait for the others. So thank you for all those who have responded. Case report. Any more responses? Anything else you would like to say? Okay, case report, cross-sectional studies, descriptive studies. Some also said meta-analysis, systematic reviews. Yeah, possible, but yeah, you might need people with the technical assistance. Any more responses before we move forward? And maybe a few more seconds. Anyone? Case report, yeah, those still continue to be the main part. You do say some other types of studies, palliative care, letter to the editor, but these continue to dominate, yeah, right from the beginning. When we started, these were the main types of study. So let me slowly begin to close. Yeah, let me move on to the next slide. And thank you everyone for participating and sharing your views. So there's a lot of studies which you can do, yeah. So the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Yeah, of course, I should quit talking and begin doing, but then I may have done some research. So now maybe I can talk. So points to keep in mind, feasibility. Yeah, no point looking at research which you cannot do with whatever resources you have. So often what you can do will be limited by the resources which you can have in your institution or with other collaborators. How much time can I devote? Yeah, can I devote enough time? What should I learn to be able to do this research? What techniques should I learn? How can I learn this? Of course, today you've got a lot more options. Yeah, you've got online courses, you've got YouTube, you've got so many things are there today. Identifying an area to study. So which area do you study? So that depends on your personal interest, depends on your institutional priority. Yeah, many institutions have their own priority areas. What funds are available? You have a national priority, and you can do a review of literature and then see what is known about a topic and what are the gaps which you have to do further research on. So publishing your research, you could have your research projects, you could have a research paper, but you could also sometimes have patents depending on the type of research. Your research can even lead to a startup, especially in the United States. One good thing is that there's much more of a free exchange between academia, industry, much more easier to get funding to start a project. Of course, possible in Nepal, but much more challenging. Of course, mother-in-laws. Yeah, of course, if you do a lot of research, maybe some of you can get a good mother-in-law. I think Vivek knows I always like to have some jokes on mother-in-laws. So university research programs, whether your university has a student research program, yeah, again, this is becoming important. So I believe even universities and colleges in Nepal, which don't have it right now, might begin at least to invest some resources on this, because accrediting bodies are slowly want something on this to be done. So that was a major fillip why many countries, universities are investing in student research. Yeah, whether it's a part of your academic requirement. So many universities put it as a part of your academic requirement to graduate, and accrediting agencies may insist on student research. So this is an article I published in 2013. What do reviewers look for in an original research article? Because once you've done your research, everything is done, you've written the paper, the next challenge is getting your research published, which sometimes can be easy, but some papers take a lot of time. So one important thing you should keep in mind is you should have perseverance. You should keep on after your research paper. Some research papers might take too long to publish. You think it's a good research paper, yeah, when you wrote it, when you did the research, but then it gets rejected by multiple journals. Yeah? So we don't know. Yeah? In that case, of course, you get disheartened, but maybe you have to keep on trying. So can you name some research journals run by medical students? Here, the next poll, yeah, can you kindly participate? Any research journals run by medical students or health science students? There are journals like this. So can you name any of these? Are you aware of any of these journals? Please go ahead. Okay, fine enough. Okay, fine enough. If you know, that's fine enough. Yeah. Anyone knows any Lancet? No, those are run by academics, maybe the faculty. You may not have heard, yeah, JNM, even though they have a student members, yeah, but JNM is also an academic one. Okay, let's wait, yeah, let's see whether anyone knows. Yeah, till now we are not heard. IJMS. What is IJMS? Indian Journal of Medical Sciences? I don't know. Yeah, let's keep it open. I believe no one knows, but that's fine enough. Yeah, no, I'll tell you a few journals, few options, and why it's important for you. Student BMJ, very good. Yeah, at least we have one student, someone who has named a student journal. American Medical Student Research Journal, very good. International Journal of Medical Students, very good. And maybe even if you are looking up from the net or you have some idea, it's still good enough. At least you're putting in the effort. Any more? Any more journals? Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah. Let's move forward. Yeah, maybe I'll give you an idea. Doesn't matter. You have mentioned some journals, so that's very good. Sorry. So one of the most famous one is the McGill Journal of Medicine. Yeah, McGill Journal of Medicine is from McGill University in Canada. Yeah, very among the student journals, maybe among the most prestigious. Yeah, BMJ Student is there. New Zealand Medical Student Journal, International Journal of Medical Students (IJMS), which you mentioned. Australian Medical Student Journal, American Medical Student Research Journal, Medical Student Research Journal, Journal of Asian Medical Students Association. So many medical journals are there. So maybe you can start one for Nepal, yeah? Maybe Vivek and others can maybe start. One problem with student journals, of course, we'll come to that. Yes, of course, student journal can be a good option to publish script because they're specifically looking for work by students, yeah? One problem, of course, is students come, students leave. So sometimes journals, have problems. They don't publish regularly. Their financial support might be less. They had some students who were active. Those students have now left the institution. Yes, all those things can happen. So how do you choose a journal for a manuscript? Remember, I told this is one of the issues we'll talk about. So it depends on how good is your manuscript. Yeah? And as you begin to publish more, you begin to get a better idea about this. How good is your manuscript? How good is the journal you're aiming to publish in? So if you think your manuscript is very good, of course you can try for a high impact journal. So impact factor, which we'll talk about shortly. Indexation, is it indexed in PubMed? Is it indexed in Scopus? So these are the two most widely accepted databases. There are others. There is NEDOL, NAPMed. There are so many others. Whether it's freely available online, that will of course increase your citations. Whether there's an article processing charge, of course, finding the money for that will be difficult. How much time is taken to process a manuscript? What type of publishing model do they follow? Before, it all used to be the manuscript used to be peer reviewed first and then it was published. Now, of course, we have the post where, where the manuscript is published first and then it's open for peer review. So that's becoming more and more common. Whether it's an international journal, regional, national, local, again depends on your focus, how good is your manuscript, what journal you want to publish in. So all this will impact, how you choose a journal. Of course, it's more complex than this, and I just touched on this topic. So will the journal meet the author's aspirations? Impact factor, focus of the journal and the manuscript, review process. What type of review process followed? Is it timely? Is it supportive? Yeah. Do you know any of the journal staff? Do you want to support the organization behind the journal? Is cost an issue? Does the journal charge? Yeah? Does the journal publish papers as quickly or as soon as possible? So the last point we'll talk about is publication indices. I believe we are quite well on time, because we started, maybe about around, I think it was 8:25 here, around 6:10 in Nepal. So we'll talk about impact factor. We'll talk about H index. We'll talk about I-10 index and journal quartiles. There are some other indices, but I just picked up 4 of the most common ones. So impact factor is calculated by Clevariat. How many citations? Yeah. So what does it mean? If a journal has an impact factor of 3, to put it simply, it means each paper which is published in the journal is likely to be cited 3 times. Yeah, so that is a simplified definition. So if a journal has an impact factor of 5, it means each paper in the journal will be cited 5 times. Often it can be a fraction because it's a mathematical formula. So you can get an impact factor of 0.3, 0.35, and so on. So this is where you can look up the journal impact factors. Yeah. And Q1 and Q2 will come to this. Okay, so impact factor, what is the H index? H index actually is again, H index is an average of, let's say, suppose someone has an H index of 39, it means each work by that author is likely to be cited 39 times. Yeah, so that's a simplification. But generally, that's what you mean. If your H index is 10, it means each paper published by you is likely to be cited 10 times. Yeah. So it varies according to your field, according to the stage of your career, and so many other things. I-10 index is number of papers you have published which have at least 10 citations. So I-10 index is something which is used by Google Scholar. Yeah, many of you may be aware of Google Scholar. So Google Scholar uses the I-10 index. And Q1 and Q2, so this is actually a quartile. I think you know what is a quartile. Quartile is when you divide 100 into 4 equal parts. Yeah, so 0 to 25, 25 or maybe 26 to 100 or something like 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100. So Q1 and Q2 are journals whose rank in a field are between 1 to 25 or 25 to 50. So the top journals in the field. So some universities have the criteria that they will accept only publications by faculty in Q1 and Q2 journals. So now, of course, many people are telling that it's not the journal's impact which is actually important. It's the actual impact of the paper which has been published. Yeah, sometimes papers, the journal impact might be low, but the particular paper you published has a good impact. So why should students do research? Yeah, maybe we are right towards the end of the presentation. So you can try and rank this. Yeah, I have given you 5 things. Yeah, can you rank this? 1 being the most important. So most important factor rank 1 and the least important rank 5. Yeah, so please go ahead. Why should students do research? Put in the rank here, wherever there's a box here. Okay, so the number 1 till now is capacity to think critically. That still remains. Better understanding of evidence-based medicine, contributing to better patient care. Yeah, we have 15 respondents. Let's wait. Better understanding and developing the capacity to think critically. Let's see what's happening. It's always quite interesting to watch the bars changing in real time. Yeah. So now, of course, our technology has become so good. 34 respondents, 36. Yeah, we'll keep it on for some time. Yes, to give people a chance to respond. So better understanding of evidence-based medicine is right now the most important, according to you, followed by developing the capacity to think critically and better career prospects. Any more responses? I think maybe people are responding. This, of course, is you have to do more thinking. Yeah? So let's keep it open for another 1 or 2 minutes. Sorry, about 30 seconds more. I believe this will be our final ranking. Yeah, maybe we might get a few more responses, but this is how it will end up. Yeah, evidence-based medicine, critical thinking, better career prospects, and better patient care. Yeah, you're of course looking at it from the perspective of a doctor. Let's have someone summarize. Yeah, that's what I had to say. Maybe anyone wants to summarize what we did. I often like to ask the participants to summarize. Anyone wants to go ahead and summarize before we take up a few questions? Anyone? Maybe Dr. Vivek, if no one, we can request him. What we did over the last hour. Or is there anyone else whom I know? Let me see whether there's anyone I know. Okay, Rakesh, Vivek. Anyone wants to go ahead? Yeah, what we did. If not, I think we can go on to questions. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Vivek, yeah, I hand it over back to you.
Okay, so thank you so much. So I'll just summarize the things, and I have some questions. I will keep that questions for you.
Okay, go ahead, yeah.
So today we discuss about the part of the original research articles. What are the parts that are there in original research articles, and we also talk about the writing those articles in research papers. We talk about the medical student journals. What are the journals that are being run by the medical students? The first journal being the McGill journal from Canada. And we talk about the H index, impact factor, what are the things that needs to be considered while choosing a journal. And we also talk about the free reference management software mainly and many other things. So basically, I just summarized the gloss of today's 1 hour session, and I have many questions here in the group. So I would like to put the question from the first question was from Sanjeev Koirala.
Maybe
What?
you might have to be a bit louder, Vivek, yeah, because I think my voice, what's happening is the sound is a bit low.
So I'll just speak more louder, sir. What
Yeah,
is
fine.
what is journal impact factor and how is it calculated? So I think it has already been solved. The question was solved. What does a journal?
Yeah, it is a bit complex, but what I said is a simplified version that's okay for you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the next question is from Dr. Tesu Malla. How to select the topic? Sometimes I found a topic very interesting, but when I discuss with colleagues, it turns out to be less interesting and impact would not be significant.
It's usually, it depends on a number of factors. One is, like I said, what something may be interesting for you, but then, you may not have the resources to do it. Yeah, let's say, suppose in Nepal you want to do, let's say, some genetic studies. Yeah, of course, it will be very challenging to do some of those, gene sequencing, human studies and all that. So, what resources you have will be an important factor which will determine again what has been already done, yeah, what has been already done, and whether it's likely to be of interest to others, yeah, whether it's likely to be publishable, whether it's likely to be cited, whether it can be done with the resources you have. So it's usually will be a compromise based on many factors. Yeah, so that's brief answer to a question.
The next question is from Deepak. What are the various methods to take consent?
Take consent. Okay, usually the only what consent usually should be written. Yeah, we used to have verbal consent, but verbal consent usually is now not regarded favorably by journals. So you can take written consent, written informed consent, and now of course with COVID and with so many things being done online, we can get online consent where people read through. I think we are using something like this. Maybe Dr. Vivek will tell you. So you read through, you give information about the study, and then people click OK, proceed, and if they click OK, then if they go to the next part. So online consent now is quite acceptable. Otherwise, it's written informed consent. Yeah, if you want to be, otherwise you might have problems.
Our next question is from Pragyat Singh. So if we do a multi-center trial, can ethical clearance be waived by the informed consent? If we do a
We can inform.
if we do a multi-center trial, can ethical clearance be waived by the informed consent?
No, you have to have ethical clearance. Yeah, the informed consent is just one of the components. Yeah, when you're submitting for ethical approval, informed consent is one of the important parts which the body will be looking at, IRB or whatever body. So without clearance, of course, especially if it's a clinical trial or if it's a study more likely to be hazardous to people, always better to take some body giving you clearance. If it's a simple study, you could go ahead. Of course, though, you might face some challenges with publishing. So they are two separate things. Yeah. So informed consent doesn't mean you can skip ethical clearance.
Our next question is, who do we reach out to conduct research, especially for those of us who have already passed out and may not have access to our professor and colleges? Most of us are willing to have no idea how to go about it.
Maybe Dr. Vivek himself can, maybe through NEDOL, maybe put you in touch with people who might be willing to help and support, because he knows quite a lot of faculty and other people whom you can approach and see whether they might be interested in helping you. Sometimes we might also be looking for people to do some of the work and maybe include people as an author. Maybe you can contact Vivek and he can contact us and other people. That's something which I could say.
Yes, sir. For these questions, I would like to inform everyone that we have a NEDOL research group, that is a WhatsApp group. If you are not into the NEDOL research WhatsApp group, please join into the group. If there is any opportunity regarding the research, or if there is any opportunity that is provided by any researcher, we'll just keep that information into the group, and you can directly have an access and contact the researcher and continue with your research project. So our next question is, what would you say is the most important part of a research that would help us in publishing it in a respected journal? The most important part of a research that would help us in publishing it in a respected journal.
You mean the part of a research manuscript?
Yeah,
Or
you might be asking about the
it
manuscript.
depends, yeah. Like one is what question you are asking, yeah, whether your question is something which is important, whether it's something which is of relevance, and what methods you're using. Yeah, so what methodology you're using, whether you're following methodology which will give you rigorous results, and whether your methodology can answer your research question. So those are the main things we look at. Yeah, how you did your research, yeah, whether the methods can what do you call it, methods have sufficient rigor, and the methods can answer the research question. And what is the research question you're asking? Of course, it's more complex than this,
Hmm.
but no, that's a simple answer.
I will take few more questions. So what are the grants or funding available in Nepal for research? It was asked by Ayush Pradhan. Grants or funding available?
Okay. Two major bodies, yeah, again, it's quite competitive. As far as I know, maybe someone else can add. One is the Nepal Health Research Council, and the other one is the Nepal Academy of Science and Technology, NAST, and UGC, the University Grants Commission. So these are the three main bodies, yeah, which give grants. They have regular, what you call for proposals, and then it goes through a competitive process. Sometimes there are other bodies which call for grants for Nepal. There could be some international bodies, some NGOs, and some other bodies. But these three are the main bodies which regularly call for grants. Yeah? But if you're a student, I believe they might want you to team up with a faculty member. And maybe some others could add, or maybe Vivek can add more to this question later.
Yes, sir. So our next question is from Dr. Bikram Karki Chetri. I think we are quite brainwashed by the PubMed Index journal. What makes the PubMed Index stand above all the other journals?
Okay. Now, actually, what is happening is what many universities regard as the highest level is Scopus. And like I told you when I was talking about the career databases, Scopus, because Scopus follows a very more rigorous indexing pattern. Yeah, so why these are regarded highly is because to get indexed in PubMed or to get indexed in Scopus, the journal has to follow a lot of criteria. Among the databases of Scopus and PubMed, I find PubMed is much easier to use. Yeah, because PubMed can give you the abstract, PubMed may give you the link to the full text. So why these are more important is because they follow strict criteria while indexing a journal. For a journal to be added to PubMed or Scopus, it has to follow a lot of particular criteria. And so that's what makes it more important. Of course, today with free online availability, how important, but still it's an important criteria. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Our next question is how one can publish a research in International Journal of Medical Students. I think you have already answered the question before.
Yeah, approach them. Yeah, look at the website, approach them, and then take it from there.
The next question is from Dr. Tesu Malla. Our retrospective study clearance was given by the institute, but during the time of publication, I came to know that certain journals needed approval from Nepal Research Council. As a result, I had to change the journal.
For Nepal, usually what happens is multi-centric studies. In multi-centric studies, clinical trials, they usually want the health NHRC to approve. Yeah, so there's the local IRBs itself can approve, but certain studies they want the NHRC to approve. Like one could be multi-centric clinical trials, yeah. Maybe if specimens are transported outside the country. So there are specific criteria. You can look up in NHRC website.
We have two more questions now. The first one is, could you explain about the level of evidence?
Sorry, level of evidence?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's something we did not touch upon. So it actually means, what it means is, we have different types of studies. Yeah, one is we have opinions. People say something, yeah, maybe, and because if they're old, senior people, you accept that. So that's one of the lowest level of evidence, personal opinions. Then, of course, we have case reports, yeah, which many of you mentioned, something we can do, case series. And then above that, we have an original research article. So original research article is the next level of evidence, and the highest level usually will be a systematic review and a meta-analysis, where you bring a number of studies together. Yeah, and you draw conclusions from a number of studies. And since these bring together a number of studies, they're much more powerful.
So I have the last question from Arjun Gautam. How are DOAZ index journals? DOAZ index journals.
Directory of Open Access Journals. See, that's one of the new indexing databases, of course, It's not the same as, say, PubMed or Scopus, but something which does guarantee some standard of a journal, because they do have their own criteria for indexing. Yeah, but in general, maybe this is not something which I fully agree with. The highest level usually is Scopus. That's why, some universities accept only Q1, Q2 Scopus publication, then PubMed, and then the other indexing come below that. Yeah. So that's usually the hierarchy of indexation.
We have we have completed almost all the questions, sir. So
Okay.
I would like to thank you, Dr. Ravi Shankar sir, because as I have mentioned, I had always been an follower of Ravi Shankar sir, doing the research every day when I was in medical school. So I have never thanked you publicly. So today is the first time I got a chance to thank you for whatever the knowledge you have provided us during our medical school. And having you with us in NEDOL is the greatest thing that I have today in the first session, telling us about the medical research and brief idea about how medical student can get involved in medical research. So
Okay. You can tell them about the research project, and request them to participate if possible.
yes, and I would also like to
And then we can conclude.
I would also like to thank Dr. Rakesh Verma. Dr. Rakesh is a very close friend of mine, and he is also a board of NEDOL. He has been doing a tremendous job behind the curtain in shaping the NEDOL. And I would also like to thank every participants who has joined us, because your participation is one of the factors that help us to guide what we are going to move ahead with. So this is one of the major factor. And along with that, after the session, I will be sending an email to all the participants regarding the feedback, and there are some more details. So I will be sending an email. I want each of the participants to reply that email, so that it will help us to bring a more systematic version of NEDOL research group in the near future. And I believe that we'll be able to be the best and one and only group in Nepal to have a largest body to conduct medical research for newly graduates and medical doctors. So we have a thank you message from Devesh Maji, Sanjeev Koirala, Vivek Rasparajuli, and Rakesh Verma. Rakesh Verma, he's one of the board members, and I would like to ask him to conclude the session. Dr. Misa and Dr. Farana Pravin. Thank you, message. So I would like to ask Dr. Rakesh Verma to end of the session.
Hello, sir. Namaste again. Thank you for your invaluable insight. It is our sheer privilege hearing from you. Well, sir, I have a small query at the last, and I quote the beautiful line you mentioned in the beginning, sir. Converting what you do in research publication, sir. Can you kindly shed some light in this statement, sir, since we are very curious to upgrade our research skills in various fronts possible, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, first, especially for faculty, maybe I will do from that perspective. Some of it may be also relevant to students. Let's say one example is, maybe you introduce a new teaching method. Yeah, you introduce something new for teaching your student that you can explore whether you can convert that into a publication. Or like someone said, the case report. Yeah, you see a rare patient, whether you can case rare disease, whether you can convert that into a publication, or whether that you can convert that into a case series. Similarly, for a community diagnosis, is there something you can do? Yeah, when you're in the community, is there some project which can come out of it, which you can publish? So that's something you can do. Of course, there are many examples, but these are a few thought I will tell you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you.
So I would like to thank every participants for joining the session. And again, at the end, I would like to thank Ravi Shankar sir for your precious time in having with us, delivering the speech on today's session. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone. Have a great time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir. Good night.